Be the Talk, episode 240, featuring Frank Forza. Welcome to Be the Talk. We go behind the talk 7 days a week for tips and techniques to help you change the world. I'm Nathan Eckel, and a talker myself. I'm interviewing others who change the world with their talk. You can too, even if you've never given a talk before. Let's get started with today's show. We are live with Frank Forza. Frankie, are you ready to talk?
I'm ready, brother. I've been up early. Got a workout in. Feeling good.
Frank Forza is a widely published writer, 2 times TEDx speaker, and creative expert who has worked with major media and pro sports brand. A BJJ black belt, Frank has won 3 Masters World Championships and teaches the art of healthy living. Frank Forza, welcome to the talk.
Nathan, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Your talk is called Why a Big Ego Gets a Bad Rap. And I love the talk. I love that you've been interviewing high mindset, high performance individuals for the last 30 years. I love that you've been doing UFC and fighting and all of this competitive stuff, and you have the track record to really prove it. And I love always when I'm interviewing other interviewers. So it's a treat for me to have you on the talk as well, Frankie.
You're living the dream, right? Normally, I'm in your seat. I'd say 99% of the time I'm in your seat, but I like what you do. You create a conversation, and that's what I do. I'm moving my interviews now more toward conversations, and that is the way to go.
I think so. Well, and I love how in your talk, Why a Big Ego Gets a Bad Rap, you basically take the rest of us in a very sanitized modern culture where we're starting to lose connection with kind of the raw realities of life. And you yourself were
human nature.
Yeah, human nature. But you yourself, it started out with bullying against you back in the day. And just to fast forward, there's so many things to mention, but to fast forward, you interview these people who are in the ring, such as yourself, and a big ego. Why you flip it on its head and you basically say, you're not going to get on the ring with someone who is a world championship boxer, fighter, wrestler, unless you have a big ego.
You're not going to make it.
You're not going to make it in. You're not. No way are you going to make it alive. But you can't even make it beyond the rope unless you have a pretty healthy ego.
in that environment, and it's not just the fighting environment. The fighting environment just crystallizes it and puts it on display for everyone to see. It's the business environment. It's so many facets of our life where literally people are competitive. People are fighting over a piece of bread, and it comes down a lot of times to who wants that piece of bread the most, who believes that piece of bread belongs to me. And it's unfortunate. It's an ugly reality, Nathan. We want more sharing. We're in a new phase of a new age of humanity and goodwill and all that stuff. But we can't forget human nature, too.
We can't forget it. I've been on this
and
kick.
Fighting reminds you of it. Fighting reminds us of human nature.
Yeah.
It brings it to the surface.
I mean, let's just, if you need a nice image of this, just the Rocky movies. I'm outside of Philadelphia. Everybody likes Rocky. Rocky had to fight for what he believed in and fight for what he got. I was on a personal journey, Frankie, and Talk Universe, just to let you know this. I was really big on collaboration because of over competition, hyper competition, bullying, all of that stuff. And I just thought, really, for the last 20 years, I was like, if we could just get along and collaborate and have a nice Mr. Rogers neighborhood type collaboration and just be nice. But then I realized something. I realized that there really is a role for competition. There really is, because it can be, I thought about why do I like hanging out with some people that it's kind of hard to get in the room with and other people that I could bump into maybe at a coffee shop or somewhere else, and it's not hard to be in the. Why do I want to be in the room with people that it's really hard to be in the room with? It's because they're getting stuff done. And so there is a reality of competition. If you want to get something done, if nobody else, you're competing against yourself. So that helped me reframe the whole thing. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Frank.
So let's take the case of, say, Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla, who's in the news now, and it's not a great moment for Elon Musk publicly, but that is par for the course for big personalities, brainiacs, people who want to change the world. That's par for the course. If you expect a perfect person That's the way it goes. That's the way genius goes. They're different. And when I interviewed one of the great managers in the fight game, I said, Monty, what's the one thing they all have in common? One of the greatest trainers in fight sports said they all have a big ego. Monty Cox said to me, they all have a screw loose. And to go where no one's gone before, to be that trendsetter, to be that leader. This city, Nathan, where I am, I'm in Las Vegas, Philadelphia, New York skyscrapers, Hong Kong. Guess what? I got news for you. They were built by people with big egos, people who said, that's going to have my name on it. That's going to be this. We're going to make a bigger building. That is the nature. Human history is defined by that. Whether we like it or not, we have to make peace with that. And that's what the talk was about.
Absolutely. And I want to be real careful about this next comment, but we're in a moment right now, just nationally in the United States, where there is kind of a renewed emphasis on winning. Regardless of how you feel about the administration, just want to set that all aside. Is it not refreshing to be given permission to win at no one else's expense, but really when winning means being the best you that you can be and not having to apologize for being the best if in fact you are the best, if in fact you get to build the tall building or achieve something that nobody else has done before or do the thing that everybody said was crazy? Is that not refreshing? And is this not a little bit of a course correction in your opinion?
Well, taking politics out of the equation, but if you look if you don't have that inner dialogue, right? A lot of the world, the business world, it's a competitive world. We can talk about cooperation all we want. Cooperation is great. Cooperation can get you far, but there's a lot of competition. Mm-hmm. Amazon knows it. Everybody knows it. That's why people are hire a lot of lobbyists to make sure they have competitive advantage. It's been going on forever. It'll keep going on. So the reality is, what I say, one of the big things in my talk was about humility, because I think humility has been misdefined in our culture, and most humility that I can see is feigned. Humility can only exist in the presence of power. That's true humility. When you know you have the power, when you already know what you can do, and you show restraint. You still respect other people that maybe even aren't in your league at a particular thing, but you still show respect. You still respect their dignity. So there is a balancing. Jeremy talked about that. Everything is balanced. If I had been able to speak longer, my speech is about 10 minutes. I wish that I would have been able to go more through that continuum and spectrum, because you don't want to be a jerk. There is a season for cooperation and there's a season to be competitive, and our lives are different. Sometimes if you're in a fight, in a cage fight, or you're a certain point of your business, it might be a hyper competitive season. At other seasons, it's a season of cooperation. Those things can change in our life, different seasons.
Well, and I think about the big surprise that Steve Jobs unveiled when he was reintroduced to Apple, and he made an alliance with his biggest enemy, Bill Gates of Microsoft. And everybody was booing everybody, but he needed the capital and they needed each other. They needed a villain. And if Apple went down without Steve Jobs, there wouldn't be a villain to fight against and become a better Microsoft. So
that's it.
Isn't that cool?
That's it.
Now, and also I gotta jump this in, because you bring up humility, which was one of the best parts of your talk, Frankie. It was just amazing. And you define humility in a sense of looking at someone maybe disadvantaged or whatever, and having the humility to say, that would be me if. That phrase is kind of synonymous with you in humility. That would be me if. And then taking that and becoming the best you can be, so that in a season of helping others and that part of life of helping others, you can be great, so that you can make a great difference for someone else. Love to throw that over to you to extrapolate that a little bit, Frankie.
Yeah, I think I think a lot about the oneness of people, and the oneness means different things to different people. But if I had to say, what is the oneness? It's exactly, that would be me. If everybody we look at, that would be you if you were born in the same zip code to the same parents at the same time under the same conditions. And when you do that, we realize, if we do look at someone who might be disadvantaged in certain senses, we tend to be more understanding, be more empathetic. And I do think the world needs more of that. So when we talk about a big ego, we have that headline, which is very salacious in the TEDx talk. But the reality is humility is a superpower. And I don't want to live in a world, Nathan, of jerks. I want to live in a world where people are empowered. They're not depressed. They're not suicidal. They're not doubting themselves. They're super confident, but guess what? They're humble. They're empathetic. They're compassionate. So that would be me helps me to level myself. When I start feeling like that person is an other, and I feel like they're different than me, or maybe I'm better than them, or whatever we think, that would be me brings me back down to earth to see the oneness in people.
We've been enjoying this conversation with Frankie Forza. His talk is called Why a Big Ego Gets a Bad Rap. It was a TEDx University of Nevada talk, and we're going to be back with Frankie Forza in just a moment for the Blitz Round. People ask, how could I start a 7-day-a-week podcast? It's because of what I've learned from my mentors. Some of the best mentors in history aren't around anymore. They've left hours of one-on-one mentoring behind in their books. Each month at Classics on Tap, I record a new chapter from a classic business book to help you make a difference. Download your first chapter at classicsontap.com. And we're back with the Blitz Round. It is time for me to ask Frankie Forza a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of his talk. Are you ready, Frankie?
I'm ready.
All right. Were you invited to speak, or did you apply?
I applied, and I got lucky, and I'm so grateful.
Just like the rest of us. Powerful.
Yeah.
All right. Are you a member?
Nevada, they do a great job. University of Nevada does it, I think, as well as it can be done.
Oh, I bet. Next question. Are you a memorizer, an improviser, or a blender?
I try to be an improviser. Gets me in trouble sometimes.
On the length or on other things?
I'm stubborn, and I like to think that it comes from my mind, that I didn't read it in someone's book, that I'm not regurgitating.
Keeping it fresh. Keeping it fresh. What's a tip, tool, or technique that helped you?
Man, I just like to be in the moment. I don't like scripted speeches, so I try to be present. That got me in trouble. I think just confidence. Confidence is the key thing up there.
This is the cut for time question. What was the most painful part of your talk that you had to cut out?
Well, I don't know what particular thing, but it was a 10-minute speech, and I like to speak long. I'm at my best when I speak long, so this format really challenged me because it favors a scripted format, and it favors 10 minutes, so that's short for me. So that was a great challenge, but I'm happy I went through it.
Well, that's short for all of us. I mean, that's part of the point of this podcast, is to let people know it's hard. For nobody gets up there and makes 10-minute speeches without a whole lot of preparation. It just doesn't come naturally.
And we got a half of a chapter on stage.
Powerful stuff. Now, what was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened during or right before your talk, Frankie?
It was self-imposed. I actually rewrote the second half of my speech, like the last 4.5 minutes. I rewrote in the hours before I went on stage.
Hours.
In the hour, by about 1 o'clock, I went on stage at 3:30. By about 1 o'clock, I was done rewriting. So I rewrote the script. That was daring. That was bold.
Well, you like to live dangerously. I mean, that's like UFC level talking right there.
And I'm talking about rewrote the thing. I'm not talking about tinkering. I'm talking about rewrote it. That was probably
you rewrote the entire speech.
I rewrote the last 4.5 minutes of the speech. I rewrote the last 4.5 minutes of it, and then I improvised on stage. I even that last 4.5 minutes I improvised on stage. So that was probably not something I should do again, but I just felt it on that day, and I'm confident, and that's what we did. I like to be in the moment, so that's real. That's real in the moment.
Talk Universe. Don't try this at home. No.
I don't think most people are going to do that.
I'm going to call you the Evil Knievel of TEDx talks, because that is ballsy.
Yeah.
Rewrite your whole speech hours before. My gosh. Were you an opener, a closer, or in between?
I was toward the end. There were a lot of heavyweights on that TEDx, so it was an honor. But I was toward the end, which, I'm a fiery person, and so I think it was good to kind of get me in there and jolt the people up who had been there a long time and put some adrenaline in the room. Yeah,
well, and that's a big thing, because when some of these events go on and you've got 20 or 30 or sometimes 40 speakers, and energy level is a huge thing. So you're probably a secret weapon for the organizer to pump the energy, keep people in the room, all of that. So, man. We have been enjoying this talk with the Evel Knievel of TEDx Talks, Frankie Forza. His talk is called Why a Big Ego Gets a Bad Rap, and you can find out more about that at our website. For the show notes of that, you can go to the page bethetalk.com. We will have a link right there, and we'll have another link where you can connect with Frankie Forza at frankieforza, FORZA.com. And find out more about him and his awesome work. He's also interviewing amazing high achievers as well. So it takes one to know one. This has been wonderful. And we will be back in just a moment for the final word of advice. Everyone wants to change the world, but not everyone knows the first step. Before you can change the world with your talk, it has to be selected. So grab the templates, timelines, and tools that I use to get my talk selected at bethetalk.com. And we're back with the final word of advice for Talk Universe.
I would say don't rewrite the second half of your speech on the day of the speech. That's probably the best advice I can give you.
Frankie Forza, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Nathan, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I'd love to do it again sometime.
Thanks for listening to Be the Talk. For tips and resources to help you change the world, go to bethetalk.com. See you tomorrow.